313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
Good morning. Welcome to a very, very, very special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are going to have a lot of your elected officials, your public servants, and just your friends, not just on city council, but also in the House up in Lansing. But we will be joined today by my co-host, probably for at least the first hour, and that's going to be the person that I think all of Oakland County knows, and I know his wife especially knows. I always have to throw her name in the mix every time I do that, and that is Ms. Sharon Person. And we are joined today, Joe, by a good friend of ours, and he is none other than, I'm trying to think, he's got so many titles that he wears. So it's like, plus he's got on a purple suit today. So, you know, I'm like, hey, wore my color today. I was going to wear purple too. But I guess I got the memo and he got the memo, but he went on and wore that purple coat to look sharp today. But none other than State Representative Tyrone Carter. Tyrone Carter, the Honorable Tyrone Carter. Welcome to Truth to Power today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been too long since we've been together.
Absolutely.
And let's not make it as long next time because we got a lot of catching up to do in a short amount of time. And I know you've got a fully packed show today because the people need to know.
Well, you know, and they need to know more about what the Honorable Tyrone Carter has been doing since the last time that we had you on the show. And it's so interesting because it seems like you bring good luck to everybody that you come in contact with, because the last time you were on the show, we had Denzel McCampbell that was was running for
City Council.
And I think you put that touch on him, and then he got elected. So now we have to make certain to see if Joe, if you plan on running for something, maybe that's one thing.
No.
That Tyrone might be able to touch you and do the same thing with you.
No.
And do that same thing, Joe. But Tyrone, talk to us. I mean, you just went through a election process to get reelected for your state rep seat. Talk about it, and then talk about what happens next, because there's a lot of people that don't understand. Now you've won in the primary.
Correct.
But what happens now between now and the general election, November the 3rd?
So, and that is a great question. And you know, every time I'm on here, I run into people in the streets that say, you have educated me on the process. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is the primary determines who really gets the seat in certain districts. In Detroit, we're heavily Democratic, even other areas, and it's considered and I'll put the air quotes, safe seat, meaning it doesn't matter who wins, they're going to be a Democrat. So when you look at the Detroit area, the primary determines who goes forward. And that's why it's critical. That 22% of voting will determine what happens to 100% of the people. We've got to get the push out. Everybody says go and vote. But I've had people say, hey, man, I got you in November. Well, if I hadn't won, November is nothing to me. So we've got to get that word out. But what happens next for me, I will be going into my 5th term. I will be the longest serving Detroiter.
Wow.
Remember, they changed it with Proposal 1. It used to be 6 years was the limit. Now it's
12
12.
years, right.
Now it's 12. So able to, create those relationships and those opportunities. My goal now is to be a mentor and provide, information. We've got at least 20 incoming folks to the legislature. I'm trying to think, maybe at least 7 or 8, maybe 10 from the Detroit area, including, Oakland County and Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw. So leadership is a big thing. And my goal is, Miss Taylor, I always shout her out. She's my 96-year-old 4th grade teacher. And this is what she told me. My job is to make sure you know what I know. Nobody does that anymore. Everybody keeps stuff to themselves. And I think that has been the problem in the black community because there's been no plan for the next person to come up. We don't have a farm team like they do in baseball, where somebody's sitting on a bench and you hear him say, guy gets injured, next man up. We got to create that because other folks are creating that next person up. So we have to start, us older folks, because I read the papers and, I'm the corporate guy, I'm the established guy. Just say I'm old. Let's just be straight up with it. These young folks are chopping at the bit, but they have no idea what's on the bit. They need to sit down and have a conversation with some senior, seasoned,
Yeah, I use the word
knowledgeable,
seasoned, right?
yeah, experienced folks that can guide them. But having them in my own home sometimes, experience is the best teacher for them. But I think we need to have a succession plan. That is the thing that has failed us in the black community.
So what are you doing to really change that, State Rep Carter?
So I can just look at what just happened in my district. So Justin Onwenu just won the primary for Senate 1. So we had a gentleman move from Hamtramck, no connection to the community, but outside entities are telling people where they can move and who they can represent. And my thing is, it's hard to represent what you don't know. So Justin was from the community, had worked on some environmental justice stuff, because I'm from 48217, Ecorse Rouge, and so I represent District 1, which is Ecorse Rouge, Southwest Detroit, U.S. Steel, Marathon, DTE, Colt. All of the industry, heavy industry, is down there. So we've been overburdened with air quality issues. I mean, people felt it recently with the burning coming out of Canada. But we've had some days in the past where that was a regular day. So Justin worked there. I mean, the people knew him. He worked hard and went away to law school, came back and said, Mr. Carter, I'm thinking about running. I said, son, get in the car. I'm taking you wherever you got to go. And we're going to have training wheels on you. He won. And I just think he is going to be a wonderful asset to District 1 in the Senate.
Now, you've mentored probably a lot of people in all of the tenure that you've been at the House.
Yes.
Who are some of the other people that you've tenured?
Well,
'Cause,
Joe
you're
Tate.
like you say, you're the seasoned, individual up there.
So the thing is, when you get to a certain age, you understand how far you're going to go up. So I'm in my 60s. I know, hey, I got more days behind me than in front of me. But what can I impart to folks that are looking? So, the first black speaker in history, Joe Tate, we came in together, and he's not coming back. But we used to sit down and talk about, and folks would say, well, who should be what? I said, Joe, because his opportunities are, straight up. It's a learning curve, and I'll support him. So we need to be able to step back when we see a young person who wants to do it. I can think about a few other people. You get older, they don't just pop out. But it's not just in politics. I've got a young lady who's working right now. She's corporate responsibility for Marathon. One of my guys who was at Wayne State AmeriCorps, he worked downtown, for the Downtown Development Authority. Now he's working at U of M. 2 young men that came through the summer program. They work for DTE now. They started as tree trimmers. So the opportunity exists. We just got to create the environment for them to, get there, and not just get there, support them when they get there.
Okay,
Getting somebody to the swimming pool is a lot different than showing them how to swim.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I got one more question. I'm going to let Joe ask a question. But The other question I want to ask you too is that, okay, now you say this is your 5th term.
Yes.
So now, what is it that Tyrone Carter, state representative, wants to do in the 5th term that Tyrone Carter may have wanted to do in the 4th term and didn't get a chance to do?
So in the 4th term, let's go back. First term, we were in the minority in the House, meaning the Republicans controlled the House and the Senate. My 2nd term, we were in a minority. They still had the House and the Senate. 3rd term, we flipped the House and the Senate for the first time in 40 years. So there was this.
And when you say flip, just so you educate everybody.
We had a Democratic governor, we had a Democratic Senate, we had a Democratic House. So they call that the trifecta. It's almost like going to the
racetrack.
I was going to say they don't have racetracks anymore, but
Well,
going to the racetrack and you picking 1, 2, and 3 and you
Right.
win, and you win big. But I think the needs have been so big for so long that there were some unreasonable expectations that folks had of the trifecta. And you also have to remember, representatives have to vote their district. If they vote a wrong way and go back home, they've got to, be accountable for that.
Right.
So there was this unreasonable thing that when we got majority, that we were just going to change the world. We saw what just happened recently. I had 2 bills for the Charles H. Wright Museum. They made it to the governor's desk after, some lawsuits, some back and forth, and they didn't get signed. So if there's 3 things that I could work on, so you said 1, but I got 3. Number 1, folks in my community, majority, let's just call it majority black communities, pay more for less. It's expensive to be poor. And everybody's talking about the cost of living. I pay $7,000 a year for car insurance. Let that sink in. $7,000. Do you know how much disposable income I would have if we paid what everybody else pays? That's 1. The other thing is we have to do something about these truth in sentencing. Michigan holds people in prison longer than I think we're the 3rd longest in the country with this truth in sentencing. We've got to come up with a mechanism because even the feds have good time credits. So that's 2. And the other one is I've got to get the funding for the Charles H. Wright Museum. It was worked out to be the same as the DIA and the Detroit Zoo because we cannot depend on the benevolence of others because they may not want to show up every now and then. So if we can create a dedicated income source for them, I think we owe it to that, the Historical Museum and the Dawson. But those would be the 3 things that I would work on.
Dawson is right there on Belle Isle.
Yes, a lot of people don't know about that. Everybody said
you're right.
We need this aquarium like they have in other cities. How about you check out what you have first and then see if we can make it better?
Correct. Joe?
First of all, I want to say Tyrone Carter is awesome. We've had conversations, and when I need to check somebody else out to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, especially the representatives or the state senators that come out of Oakland County, I call Tyrone because, again, he is like myself. We give it to you straight without a chaser. Justin, I'm proud of him because I met this young man many years before Tyrone did. And when I met him, he came to Oakland County and he said, I hear you do stuff, so what do you think I need to do? I told him, I said, you talking about going to law school, go finish that and then go become a representative because you're writing laws. We need people that understand law and how to research law. So now when they bring a law before black folk, you're going to be our resident lawyer that understands this. And my God, he did it. When he won, he called me about 12 or 1 o'clock that morning, on election night, and said I won. He says, and what you told me, I followed through. I said, but did you listen to the other people along the way? And funny thing, Tyrone Carter's name came up and a couple of other people. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to create a bench in Oakland County. We're creating that bench. Some people I had to step on there. They hurt their feelings so that they wouldn't run because I asked 3 things. How much money or your own money can you put in this campaign if you're running? Can you raise money? Will you canvass? And finally, what endorsements do you bring to the table or can you get? And if you can't answer those 3 questions, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and let's work on some of that. And until you get that, I can't jump behind you. I'm not going to jump behind you. A funny thing came out in this last election. A lot of the people that, because of the anger that we had over Kamala Harris not voting for her, it reared its ugly head. In fact, one of the only few Arabs that really got elected was
El Sayed.
El Sayed. Shadia Martini, who was incredible up in Oakland County, lost in a landslide to Jason Hoskins. And we have our issues and our concerns, but he understands now he has to really do some work in the state Senate. It can't be just go along to get along or follow Jeremy Moss, who was the state senator. Simple as that, because Jeremy is gone. He's going probably to Congress to represent us, and that's a whole nother story. But we got to do some real work, as Tyrone has said. We got to work. We got to get a bench, and that's our problem. We don't have a bench. We allow other people to pick the bench for me.
Say it twice.
We allow other people to pick the bench for us. And here's what I mean by that. Tyrone Carter he represents us. He is not the candidate or the state representative that represents somebody else that doesn't look like me, that's given Tyrone Carter to me and said, this is who we get behind and vote. That's what happens in the black communities. So even the black people, a lot of times that we put in office, when you look at what they do, they're not pushing anything for their people. They're pushing an agenda for everybody else's people. The Jewish community, I'm not angry with them. The reason that they get everything they want, because number one, just like this election coming up here, they just happen not to like El Sayed. Abdul El Sayed. If they did like him, they would put some money in his coffer, because they're definitely going to put money in Mike Rogers' coffer. So whoever wins, they can pick up the phone and say, we need this in the Jewish community, and those folks deliver. I'm waiting for that day when we black people get that kind of money and power, which we used to have, because during the civil rights movement, most people don't know that people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Thurgood Marshall, all of these folks, they were Republicans. They were
Republicans first, right?
Right, they were Republicans, but it was about the people. We got to get back to that.
Well, let me ask you, Tyrone. The thing that I'm curious about is that, so you've got 3 things that you would like to see this 5th term.
Yes.
That you're in office right now. So the question I want to ask you too, just kind of piggyback on a little bit what Joe was saying too, is that put those in order of what you think probably has the quickest chance of probably getting passed before the other 2.
So first we have to wait until November to see what the numbers are. Mm-hmm. We have to be in majority to even move the ball. If we're not majority, and again, we need to educate folks on the process. We had a bunch of people that are in office or running, that were in office coming back to their constituents saying, hey, I dropped this bill for this. You knew full well that bill in minority ain't going anywhere. You ain't even getting a hearing. But you can come back and say, hey, I dropped this bill that is going to get more money in your pocket. It's not going to get a hearing. It's not going to get a vote. And it definitely will not become a law. And that's because we're in minority. Even in Congress, folks running for Congress telling you they're going to go and do all of these things. If they're not majority and they don't have a relationship with the other chamber, it's not going anywhere. This is a relationship thing. So my thing is I have to look at the numbers. And then I have to be realistic about the different camps in the Democratic Party. We in for a rough ride. Let me just say that. We're in for a rough ride. See, he's laughing because he knows I'm telling the truth. Because this is the math. You need 56. First, you got to get a hearing. Then you need 56 votes to get it out to House. Then you need 20 to get it out to Senate. Then you need the governor to sign it. Folks don't understand the dynamics. So I got to work the room. If I can't get 56 Democrats, I'll have to go and get some Republicans. So we have to look at this. How is it beneficial for your area as well? So again, I never promise anything. I will work on trying to get that number. But we have to work after November to see where we land. and then I'll look at my list and see what's more doable. But I want to pivot to something that Joe said that is really true. The money. You keep hearing about the money, getting money out of politics. That is another great slogan, almost like right to work. You will never get money out of politics. And why is it here in Michigan right now? Because nobody's saying where Joe Ossoff gets his money from in Georgia. It's an issue here of where you get your money from. And the issue is in the black community, there's not a lot of money. You talk to any of my Democratic Detroit colleagues, raising money is a hard thing. And that's why the Democratic Party sends people into areas, because they funded them to get their message out. We've got to figure it out sooner than later. Otherwise, and I'll say this, having worked in the courtrooms for a bunch of years, I've noticed that black folk will allow anybody to represent us, but other folk won't allow anybody to represent them.
So, the question, and somebody brought this to my attention, and I looked at it. When black people run for office, I see the fundraising efforts that they put in, but I see the different denominations of how people could support them by being $10, $20, $30, whatever the case may be, whatever the increments will be. But I see on the other side, I'm seeing $100, $200, $300, and so on and so forth. But I'm seeing with the black legislators, they start low. They start like at $25 or $50. By the time they get to the first increment on the other side, that's the black folks that are running for office. That's their top tier, ask, as opposed to the other side.
And the reason is because, like me, I live in the same neighborhood. Somebody sent out a flyer that said, from the community for the community. Mm-hmm. I live in my community. If I've helped Miss Jones get a furnace in November, and I'm having a fundraiser, and she brings me $10, that meant $1,000 to her. But it's only $10 when you look at it. But I know what it meant to her. Mm-hmm. So the ability to raise money, and then if you have a business that I've got some multi-billion-dollar companies, but you take money from them, and next thing you know, your opponent and even your party is vilifying you and saying, hey, you took money from so-and-so. But then they'll come through the back door and say, well, can you give money to the Democratic Party out of that dirty money that you got? So we need to start having real conversations about how these folks get their money. They want me to, it's almost like going to church and preach say, hey, I don't know where it came from. I'm going to pray over it. Some guy bought up, I got $1,000 from Marathon. My son worked at Marathon before he passed. So there's a relationship. What's $1,000 to me? It ain't enough gas for a year that's going to sway my vote. But they always make that little insinuation that, hey, you took money, that you're for sale.
And that's the part that makes it so interesting, because everybody vilified what happened when it came down to AIPAC money. And it seemed like that just really went. And I think not only did it hurt
there's
folks that ran for
AIPAC,
Senate.
There's AMPAC, there's all of these groups. I say all of us get together and start Black PAC. I put up the first $10,000. I'm serious.
I got 5 on it.
We've got to come, seriously, we've got to come up with a mechanism. And Malcolm X said it, we've never been outnumbered. We've just been out organized.
Right.
These organized groups, and I'll call them by name, Michigan United, Detroit Action, who's funding them? Nobody asked that question. They're flying in folks from different places on election day to knock
on doors
against opponents.
Right.
Because, I'm corporate. I'm over 60. I've been accused of a lot of things, but scared ain't one of them.
Ask one last question?
At the end of the day, to negate all of that money coming in, I say we get back to the part where I grew up. I'm from Washington D.C., born and raised. My father died when he was 13, and Marion Barry, who was a good friend of my father's, took me under his wing and taught me the game. He says, if you go knock a door on that one block every week for 4 weeks, by the 5th week, people gonna start saying, Joe, we don't need you. I already know I'm gonna vote for Marion. I'm gonna vote for this person. We got to go back to basics, the basics of campaigning, because that's what we did to get the word out, and stop going to run into churches that have been enslaved by corporate America, because everybody that is in a church, and that's not all churches, so folk don't get stupid and call in and say hey, this, that, and I'm calling a spade a spade. I am so sick of us using our churches to push the agenda of somebody else, and it's just a matter of who gives you the money. Tyrone is right about that lady that spent $10. I had a lady that sees me out, canvassing all the time. She came by my house and left me 5 apples on my doorstep. She said, and her little note talking about, you got to eat something while you're out there. She ain't going to give me no money, but she gave me food for the tank. And that's what it is. We got to work, we got to get money, but we got to go back to our grassroots in order to raise money to win these elections.
Tyrone, I was just thinking about something while we were just communicating real quick. But I don't know what you've got, because I think, didn't you have something else that you had to do this morning, or are you going to be able to kind of stick around for a minute?
I'll stick around for a minute.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and we have Joe Person, we have State Representative Tyrone Carter, and we will be right back. So stay tuned. You're watching a special edition of Truth to Power.
From the desk of RJ Watkins, this is a WHPR editorial.
I'm Ariana Watkins, and for decades, my father, RJ Watkins, has served our community with quality radio and TV service through WHPR and Roku. Today, I'm proud to stand beside him, continuing the legacy built on trust, innovation, and your support. We're here because of you, and we'll keep bringing you the best now and for generations to come. Thank you for supporting us and growing with us.
This has been a WHPR editorial.
Claudine Jackson thought she had it all until she was faced with the challenges of raising an autistic child. Inspired by autism is her brutally honest journey, filled with heartbreak and triumph. Get your copy and find the support you deserve today by visiting www.claudinejackson.tv.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
If you enjoy the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
Watkins Broadcasting is going worldwide. Now you can watch Detroit's own WHPR on your TV from anywhere in the world. No matter where you are, you can stay in the know with WHPR TV and Roku. You can get your easy-to-install Roku box from wherever you shop for your entertainment gear. Once your Roku box is connected to your TV and internet, go to the channel store on the home menu of the Roku box. Enter WHPR TV in the search engine and add it to your channels. That's it. That's all you need to get the best in entertainment, news, and talk, no matter where you are. Roku brings all of your favorites to your TV. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Crackle, HBO Go, and now WHPR TV, Detroit Live.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
Special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are joined, State Representative Tyrone Carter, by a incoming state representative elect. Is that the way? I'm trying to make sure I'm saying it the right way. And this is none other than Miss Kimberly Fisher. So, Kimberly, welcome to a special edition of Truth to Power. And you, State Rep Tyrone Carter, you two make it special, because it's like giving you an opportunity to hear Tyrone, as you were saying, 5 terms in as state rep. Now you've got the novice just coming in on her first term. Kimberly, talk about how does it feel right now? How did you feel after Election Day a week ago, or a week and a half ago almost? How did you feel when you found out the results?
Well, it's still surreal, but I definitely want to start by saying thank you for having me today. This is actually my first conversation post-election, and I'm very happy to be here, especially with you. For me, it's surreal. I think after 10 months of door knocking and hard work and phone banking and team corralling and just community conversations, I sometimes wake up and say, why's my team not calling? Like, where are they at? We got to go, guys. You know, I find myself calling members of my team like, hey, what y'all doing? And they're like, not working. So, or back to work like me. Right. It's a true testament to hard work. And especially in this space, no matter how hard you work, you never know what the outcome is going to be. So, you know, just a testament of faith, a testament of hard work, and just belief from the community.
You know, it is an honor, and I appreciate you coming on the show and allowing us to get better acquainted with Kimberly Elise Fisher. Am I saying your middle name correct?
I'll tell you a secret. It's Elise Janae.
Elise Janae.
Elise Janae Fisher.
Okay. Well, then tell us a little bit about who you were prior to the August the 4th election. Who was, or who is Kimberly Elise Janae Fisher?
It's so odd hearing someone say that. For the past 20 years, I've been a community activist. I've done a lot of work at a federal, state, and local level lobbying for the needs and the desires of Black people. I'm a small business owner. I own Lily's and Elise Tea House. This is the region's only Black-owned tea house, and I'm Michigan's only Black tea sommelier. So I have
Give
been...
it a shout out. Where's it at?
Oh, okay. It's going to be on 7 and Livernois on the historic Avenue of Fashion. Okay. Right across from the gas station. You'll see the pink flower planters, and we're open from Thursdays to Sundays from 10 to 6.
Okay.
Amen. And in addition to that, I've worked for Warren Evans, the Wayne County Executive, as his Executive Community Engagement Liaison for Eastern Wayne County. I currently also work for City Council in District 5 as the Senior Community Engagement Liaison. I've done work for the NAACP.
Who does that happen to be?
That is going to be Council Member Renata Miller, who is my mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this is a really special time for us in my family. people may not believe it, but our opportunities to run for office actually happened around the same time. And it's a blessing for two native Detroiters, lifelong Detroiters, to actually be in the position that God has blessed us to be in. In our political world, we see a lot of people who are from outside of Detroit, being the voice of the people. And, this time around, people chose true Detroiters. So that is a core of who I am. I come from a family of union workers. My mom is a UAW retiree. My grandfather was one of the first black fire captains on the Detroit Fire Department. My grandmother was a nurse at Henry Ford, St. John, Mercy. I can go down the line with her. This is just kind of how I was raised, from my grandfather being a kid at Ferris State College, back when it was Ferris State College, organizing the sit-ins, from being kicked out a couple weeks before graduation, being drafted to Vietnam, participating with the Black Panthers, coming home and advocating. My grandmother advocated during the Detroit riots. She and I both had an opportunity to go on Good Morning America because of her advocacy and my advocacy during the Black Lives Matter movement here in Detroit and across the country. It's just part of my DNA. So when Donovan McKinney made the decision to run for U.S. Congress, there was a conversation in District 3 about who was going to step up to the plate. And Scott Benson put my name in the hat. And here we are on your show, sitting next to Rep. Carter. So I'm excited to be here. A lot more than you guys know. So thank you.
Well, this is a good segue to Rep. Carter, as you call him. So, Rep. Carter, do you have a question that you'd like to ask your newest colleague up in Lansing?
Absolutely. First, let me say I'm extremely proud of this young lady. I met her a while ago. And, we had some differences. Mm-hmm. We've worked them out because she put in the work. Mm-hmm. See, and not to put her down, but her generation, not her, thinks that likes and clicks are going to get you elected. Everybody thinks that social media is it. It is your ground game. It is you getting out and meeting people where they are, knocking on doors, being told no, or finding out, hey, can you address this issue? Because so many people have given up hope on politics and politicians. If you watch the news, you're like, okay, what's the point? But to see a person full of energy to come and say, hey, give me a shot. Let me try this. The first thing that I would ask her, well, we've had this conversation, so we're not going to fool anybody. I said her time management has to be on point because she's going to be pulled in directions. When you lose an election, you're an orphan. When you win, you have 1,000 fathers. Everybody helped you win. So everybody wants something. So I told her, you're going to have to manage your time. That's the biggest thing. The best advice that I could give her is make sure you have good, competent staff. Good, competent staff. Because nothing like going to a community meeting and folks saying, well, I called your office 8 times, and you get back and you look in the inbox and they have, and nobody's responded. You don't want to get blindsided with that. But the biggest thing is enjoy the moment right now. Yeah. Because she's the Democratic nominee. After November, she'll be rep-elect. And then when she's sworn in, that's when, you got to put those gym shoes on. We got to hit the ground running. Especially, and I have something to compare it to, if in minority, you get to learn. In majority, you got to learn while you're running. Because we got to get stuff done. Because there's only a 2-year window period for us to do it. So, again, I'm trying to be the best resource to say, what do you need? But she's got to take care of herself. Make yourself a priority.
Did you get a chance to talk to, now you're ascending into Donovan McKinney's seat. Have you talked to Donovan since the election?
We talked in passing, but he's busy.
He's definitely busy. I spoke to him last week. So
yeah, he's definitely busy. But I will say, leading up to the election, Donovan was an excellent sounding board for me. I was his endorsed candidate, so there was a lot of investment that he made time-wise into my campaign and guiding me into, Tyrone's point. That is exactly what he said to me because, as I mentioned, I still have a full-time job. I have a full-time business. And the one thing that he's done has really taken his experience to try to help grow me because I don't know. And one thing that I've made it my personal business to everyone that's willing to help, including yourself, is to pour into me. You know, I am not the type of person to walk into a space and pretend that I know everything, because I don't. And a lot of the success that I've had in my life has been because of mentors and people whom I've just flat out listened to. So regarding the time management, I would have to say that I'm still working on that. It's week 2. But the conversation about staffing, the conversation about making sure that my teams, across life are self-sufficient. I started that already because I can already see some of the things that he's referring to. And my hope is that people from the Detroit caucus and Donovan, as he has time, will continue to do so for me so that I can have a successful first term.
You know, and Representative Carter, you know, kind of helped me with this question, because it's like, I know when you go into and you ascend into the footsteps of a State Rep Donovan McKinney, now the 13th Congressional District, you know, person that will be representing the 13th Congressional District, were there any things that he may have attempted to do, just like I was asking, you know, State Rep Carter, that he may have now has got to look to you and hope that you will take the mantle and run with that? Because you know what I'm saying, Tyrone, you know, that here you may have had something that you wanted to get done, and just like you were saying, those 3 things, and now here you, let's say at your 6th term, which you'll be termed out at that point during the 12 years, now then you pass the torch on to somebody else to finish what you were doing. Is there anything, Kimberly, that you may know that Donovan was working on that he wants to pass that torch on to you?
Yeah, so there are quite a few bills that Donovan was working on that are currently being transitioned. My transition has to go a lot quicker and start a lot earlier than most people, and because, you know, he's also transitioning to a higher office. The main thing that I would say that we both agree upon, and something that's actually very, very passionate to me and was a large part of my campaign, was putting main streets on the east side. A part of the reason that I took my business to Livernois was because Livernois became a main street, and there were millions of dollars of grant funds available through Motor City Match and through the SBA and the DEGC for businesses to go to locations like Livernois or to Grand River.
DEGC, that's Detroit Economic Growth.
Yeah, sorry about
that. That's a good test for me. But
I'm sorry about that. And they made it accessible. And I grew up getting my hair done at Charmel's on Livernois. My mom and my grandmother still goes there. I got my prom dress and my homecoming dresses off Livernois. My granddad and my dad get their suit off Livernois. And that's just where I was drawn. To me, Livernois is the Black Mecca. We know that it's one of the oldest Black business blocks in the country. But unfortunately, we don't have those opportunities on the east side. So a large part of my campaign actually was the east side deserves more, bringing opportunities, resources, and businesses and opportunities to the east side. Van Dyke and Gratiot needs to be a state main street. And when Van Dyke and Gratiot becomes a state main street, then we'll be able to see more economic opportunities and growth on the east side. When I was growing up, Van Dyke was the place to be. We could go to the hardware store. For me as a kid, we could go to McDonald's. We can go to the Play. We can do all of those things on Van Dyke. Drive up Van Dyke, go to the Bel Air Shopping Center, go to Target, go to, now the late Foreman Mills is gone, but that used to be a Toys R Us, the Radio Shack. We could go to Mervin's, all those, businesses, those big box businesses that we had on the east side. And as we saw the Black, exodus from the east side, those businesses closed. And we need those opportunities back so that we can bring people back to the east side, but also back to the city of Detroit. And the east side is oftentimes forgotten. So that's going to be one of the main things that I want to pick up from Donovan. I know that he's done a lot of great work on it. There's an Iron Bell Trail coming from up north to connect to Jefferson, down Van Dyke. We need the funds, we need the opportunities and the resources on the east side.
Well, and I look at it, State Rep Carter and also Kimberly, that here, your district Kimberly, and your district, Tyrone, are two districts that cover multiple cities.
Correct. As do most of the Detroit caucus. My district has been redistricted 3 times.
I was about to say several times.
3 times.
Right.
So when it first started, there were 17 of us. So I was District 6, and I went from Ecorse and Rouge all the way over to Indian Village and Belle Isle. I mean, how do you do that? I don't know. But as we changed,
I remember that.
Yeah. Then we changed, and then we got the lawsuit that was filed that they redrew them because they were saying that the new maps suppress black votes. So with the new redistricting, I got back Ecorse, Rouge, and Southwest Detroit, but it had to remain the same population. Most, if not all, districts, and there's 110, are anywhere from 80 to 90,000 people. Not voters, but people. So we may have the same population, but there's different and there's distinct. We have some folks that may have 10% of their district is Detroit, and they'll be part of the Detroit caucus. Won't have voting rights, but the goal to me was to split up the power in the city of Detroit and have as many outside of Detroit folk represent Detroiters.
And see, that's the thing, because I'm looking at Kimberly, because you ascend into into Macomb County.
Yes, Macomb.
Just talk about it a little bit, because I knew Donovan when Donovan was campaigning to be a state rep, and some of the things that he went through, trying to cross 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to talk about how it was with you when you were campaigning and you had to cross 8 Mile?
Yeah. Well, I'll say that Macomb is a beast of his own. Macomb is very connected, and Macomb is Macomb. If you're in Macomb, you're a part of the club. If you're not, then you have to fight to get in. And I would say that was really my experience. I spent 6 months of my campaign building relationships. While I was filed, I did not campaign because I'm as a community activist, it's easier for me to build off of existing relationships or new relationships, and I stayed true to myself in that sense. So for 6 months, I went to community meetings. I went into people's homes. We door knocked just to be able to get to know Southern Warren. And I can say that once we got through that barrier, which we are still working to get through it in truth, we were smooth sailing. It's about the messaging and meeting people where they are. Yes, I'm a Detroiter. Yes, my family's lived in District 3 for over 100 years, but we have the same burden. We breathe the same contaminated air. We struggle with the same potholes. We need the same amount of resources and opportunities. And I think once I was able to get that clear messaging across, that's how I was able to win Macomb County and win Warren.
So I'm going to ask you kind of an interesting question. If you've known Tyrone for a little while, what's the one word, Kimberly, that you would use to describe State Rep Tyrone Carter?
Black. Black. And I love that about him. I love black men who are proud and strong and determined and just unauthentically black. And what we see a lot in politics is a force from different sides of the Democratic Party to shrink your blackness, to shrink who you are, to shrink where you came from, to shrink from your ideals. And I can say that he has always stood 10 toes on who he was and where he's from. And that's why he's so admired upon those in my generation, because that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for our people. We're fighting for our voice. We're fighting for the right to exist. And we're fighting for opportunities as being black people. And I think he is really holding the torch for that, especially for people like me who are brand new, who, I come from, I'm a Delta. So I joined a social action organization. I've been the social action chair. I'm the second vice president of the Detroit chapter. So I'm blackity black. And I come from a black organization that we fight. The first thing we did was the Freedom March. And everyone knows that about Deltas. So to see someone like him in the world of John James and in the world of my opponents, I can say that it is a breath of fresh air to see a black man stand 10 toes on who he is, guiding the light for the newbies.
Well, you know, I've known Tyrone for a long time, and it's rare to see those cheekbones pop up the way that they just did when you said that he was black and black. So
that was a heck of a compliment.
I could tell the way you reacted to that. So now I'm gonna ask you another question, then I'm gonna turn it to Tyrone. What's the one word that your mother would use to describe her daughter?
My mother?
Yes, ma'am.
My mother would say that I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter. Coming into this race, I went against an elected official. And opening up my business, I went against a when I was bidding for my space. I went against an existing corporation. If I don't have it, I'm going to get it. If I don't know it, I'm going to ask somebody and depend on them to help me by any means necessary. And I think that's something that I inherited from my family because, you know, we don't, for those of us whose family migrated from the South, we had to go to work. We had to get it out the mud. A lot of us have to own small businesses to be able to afford to live. A lot of us have to just, we're in survival mode. And I feel like I've been in survival mode for the past 20 years because of the state of the black community. But at each and every turn, whether I lose, whether I'm beat down, whether I don't have anywhere else to go, I'm still going to fight to the next step.
Well, see, I don't figure that, and I don't say that people lose an election. I say people learned from the election.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what you've done. That's what you've done.
It's called research and development when you take a L.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Tyrone, I'm going to ask you, same question I did to Kimberly. What's the one word that you would use to describe Kimberly?
You know, I was sitting here and I was like, wow.
And I gave you a little time.
No. You gave me a little time.
Your answer, right.
But I don't know if you remember the slogan for Lexus cars. It used to be the relentless pursuit of perfection. She's a Lexus, but her relentless pursuit of excellence. You know, she was relentless when she was campaigning. She was relentless, but that passion bubbles over, and you see that some folks come through and they may have that will, but they don't have the passion. I mean, all of the ingredients is here. So I was sitting up here and I say, girl, she's a Lexus. When you think about when Lexus first came out, it was the relentless pursuit of perfection. And I think she has a relentless pursuit of excellence to make things better for the people she's going to represent.
How does it make you feel, Kim?
I'm about to cry. Like I said, I'm still on cloud nine. So I think throughout all of the things that I do in life, it's for the glory of God. And thank you, I need it. It's for the glory of God. And I think that when you have someone like Tyrone or someone like you, when you and I first spoke for the second time, that it means a lot more when you get that type of feedback from someone who's already lived it. And I take it as an honor because, you know, anyone else could have been in this position. Anyone else could have won. And I don't just mean the election when I talk about in life, because I've lost a lot. I'm a pageant girl, so I've lost a lot. This is not my first business. I've had a lot of failure, but I think to be seen as that, as someone who is perceived as, you know, pursuing excellence, that means a lot, because my personal goal, my personal slogan in life, and I have it everywhere, is excellence or nothing at all. And he doesn't know that. But that was my slogan in middle school, and I've adopted that in life. So my business is excellent. My campaign had to be excellent. And my team can tell you that I don't play about that, because at the end of the day, I need to be able to say that I did everything that I could. And if it didn't work, then it wasn't on me. So I appreciate that feedback, and it means more than you guys know. Thank you.
And you know, and it's so interesting, Tyrone, that here, this is somebody that's going to be coming and joining you up in Lansing.
Correct.
And just as you were saying, there's going to be others that are going to be newly elected officials, either in the Senate as well as in the House. But now, when you talked before, Tyrone, about the fact that now you have a Speaker of the House to replace Speaker of the House Joe Tate.
Mm-hmm.
and talk about how does the Speaker of the House get elected? How? Because somebody asked me to ask you that.
So, yeah, that is a great, again, we're talking about process.
Correct.
So you think that there's 110 state reps that everybody votes? No. The Republicans vote for their leader and the Democrats vote for their leader. Whoever's in majority takes over. So when we had 56 to 54, we had a one-person majority. All you need is one to win. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's how Speaker Tate became the Speaker. So we lose 3 seats, and we vote for this. They're called the minority leader. So I've had 3 minority leaders: Chris Gregg, Donna Lazinski, then Joe was the Speaker, and now Ranjit Puri is the minority speaker leader. The Speaker has total power, and nobody knew this. I knew it, but a lot of people. We got 28 people that came in after COVID, and we got the majority. The Speaker can determine who gets what committees, where you sit on the floor, your parking, even some of your staffing. You may have gotten elected by folks to come up there, but the Speaker controls the calendar. Just all of those things and nobody understood this until recently, when there were some issues with the current Speaker, something as simple as having the sergeants do more work. Let's say if you look at it the way it's written, the Speaker has the say. So having a bad relationship with the Speaker is not a good thing, but if that's what you want to fight on, and I tell all the new legislators, you got to ask yourself, do you want to be an activist or do you want to be a legislator? Because some days you can't be both. It's easy to go down the street and march about an issue, but it's hard to come into this room and figure out how we're going to make it life better. How we're going to make this into a law, legislation. We got to figure this out. So there's going to be a huge learning curve, but I'm here to show any Senate, House, what nobody, demonstrated to me. I wasn't the chosen candidate. When I got into that office, there was one sheet of paper on there telling me these were the block clubs. I didn't need it because I was from the community. But the fact is there was no succession plan. Kimberly's been lucky because Donovan was there. But I had 20, 30 years of nobody from that community representing it.
Well, we got to take a break, but I do want to thank you both for coming on the show with us today. I hope that, as you said, this is not going to be a long time in between.
No, we got to do better.
We got to do better. Because I'd like to commit you to at least every other month.
We can do that. We can do that because my schedule is going to be a lot lighter. As I showed the new folks, they've got training wheels on their bikes right now, which is not a bad thing because I don't want them to crash. I need them to be successful.
Well, Kimberly, I'm going to ask you the same thing. I definitely want you to come back as often as you like.
Thank you.
Since this will be your first term in office, as often. The door, as Tyrone will tell you, the doors here at WHPR TV are always open to especially great people like you, like Tyrone and others that have come through these doors. So one day your picture may be up on these walls that says something about you and your business and some of the things and the acumen that you have, motivating young people to be like you.
Thank you.
So again, give your district. You're representing what district, Kimberly?
I will represent the House 11 district, which is Northeast Detroit and Southern Warren.
Okay, and Tyrone, again, for those that might not know, you represent what district?
District 1.
District 1, so that'd be easy.
Which is Detroit, Ecorse, and River Rouge. Tri-City.
You have a great mentor in this young man.
I'm very lucky.
So again, the Lexus, right? That's what he called you, the Lexus. So again, he looked forward to
relentless pursuit.
The relentless pursuit of excellence.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So again, thank you for coming. We definitely want you to come back again. You've got both an open invitation.
Thank you.
To come back again.
Thank you, Darwin.
You've been watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we will be right back. So stay tuned.
TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us to WHPS Channel 15.2.
If you enjoy the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
Claudine Jackson thought she had it all until she was faced with the challenges of raising an autistic child. Inspired by Autism is her brutally honest journey filled with heartbreak and triumph. Get your copy and find the support you deserve today by visiting www.claudinejackson.tv.
We are now streaming on Alexa. That's right, we're streaming our TV audio worldwide on Alexa. To get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
107.5 FM, WGPR. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
Now, Alexa will allow you to listen to your favorite TV programs. Remember, to get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
We're streaming our TV audio worldwide.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
WGPR Detroit, HD3.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
Welcome. You are watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are joined back again in the studio by Mr. All Oakland County, and that is Joe Person. The other half of Sharon Person, I always have to throw Sharon's name in there. Because Sharon looks at the set, I want to make sure that Sharon knows, and we appreciate you, Sharon, for allowing Joe to get this opportunity to come and be on this journey with me this morning. But we are joined also by the first time that she has made an appearance here at the station here at WHPR TV on Watkins Broadcasting. And it has been long overdue, but we hope that this will not be the last time that she comes, because she is going to, we talk about first time that she's been here at WHPR TV, but she is a person who was also a first, where she was the first African-American female to be elected in the city of Warren, Michigan. And her name, which I'm sure a lot of people know already because of some of the great things that she's doing in the city of Warren, and she is none other than the vice president of the city council in Warren. Now get all these factoids that I'm putting in about her. She is also the first black female elected in the city of Warren, and she is also the vice president of the city council in Warren, and none other than Councilwoman Melody McGee.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you here on the set with myself and Joe today, and we hope that this will be the first of many, many times that you will make appearances here at WHPR TV.
Likewise, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, talk a little bit about who is Melody McGee, and talk a little bit about your ascension into being the first black female, as well as the first, well, we can say now, the first black female vice president of the city council in Warren.
Yes. Well, I originally is from Detroit, I'm born and raised in Detroit. moved out of Detroit about 26 years ago. Did not expect to live in Warren. And of course, because of the reputation of the city of Warren, my parents did not want me to live there. But I believe that it was a calling for me to be there. And I've been there 26 years now. Started off and had my home built in the city of Warren, and decided to get very much involved in my community like I always had been. Please understand, I had two parents that were very much involved in the city of Detroit, who taught me how to be involved. I come from a strong church background, and so my uncles, I had a total of about 10 uncles who were all pastors and ministers, and so we were very much involved in our community, and I just moved that on over into the city of Warren and got more involved. I became a precinct delegate. I became the chair over the Black Caucus there, Macomb Black Caucus, and then I became the vice chair over the city of Warren Democratic Party there in the city, in the county of Macomb. And so as I got more and more involved in everything, and knowing my background in workforce development and wanting to work with our community, it really just stood out for me to just, one day become more politically involved. And really, I believe God told me that this is where you're going to be, and you're going to be the first, and you're going to make a difference. And so I ran in 2019, and I lost by a few hundred, and decided to run again in 24 and won.
So when you lost the first time, what was your encouragement? Was it mom and dad, or was it another motivating factor that encouraged you to run again?
Well, it was the people in the community. They wanted to see a change. They wanted to make a difference. We have become very diverse in the city of Warren. We have the Bengalis in the thousands. They moved into the city of Warren. We have our Asian generation that is there. We have our Chaldean generation, and so more of them encouraged me, as well as our Black Caucus, to move forward and still make a difference by becoming the first person of color. It's not that I was just the first African American, I was the first person of color, period. When Warren was established in 1928, so it had never had a person in local government. And we wanted to make that change. We wanted to make that change about the reputation of the city of Warren, and we're still making those changes come about.
What are some of the things that you would like to do? Now, this is your first term, correct?
Yes, my first
term.
So
talk about what was the things that when you got elected, what was on your plate that you wanted to do, you wanted to accomplish as a city councilwoman?
Well, one of the major things I wanted to do is not just being the first. I want to make sure that I'm not the last. I want to bring diversity into the city as far as in leadership, period. We've gotten our first woman mayor. We have our
That's
first.
Lori Stone, correct?
Yes, Lori Stone, Mayor Stone, and we now have our first commissioner, who's African American, Mr. Hawkins, and so we are making that change, and we're moving forward. We have a community director, you met Olu. He's our community manager there, and I want to see a diverse city council. The second thing that I wanted to do is work on workforce development. Our average household salary is around $66,000, and I wanted to bring change for our youth. I wanted to bring change for our community, and I also wanted to make sure that we become one of the major cities, being the third largest city in the state of Michigan, the largest city in the county, Macomb County, that we will bring more people into the city, our youth. Our average age is 38, but we have the oldest living generation in the state of Michigan. So you could say we're the Florida of the state of Michigan, and we want to make sure we bring more of our youth, our young people, our workforce into the city of Warren. And only way that we can do that is we have to kind of lean back on traditions and move forward and bringing in a master plan that will work.
Well, and I just want to ask one of the questions. I'll let Joe ask a question next. So now you are in this position, and we talked a little bit, we talked the other day about some of the things that Warren wanted to kind of dispel some of the myths that people had about the city of Warren. Is there any other myths that people have about Warren? Because, that's the one thing that people are really so upset about when they see these car crashes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been issues before about misconduct when it came down to policing.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the myths that you've seen since you've been in office that you see are changing, or the myths that people may have, the misconceptions of Warren that you'd like to dispel for people that may have a misconception or a disconnect with residents in Warren or administration in Warren?
Well, I can say that, I believe some of those myths were correct. It's just that we're working to make it better. And one of the things that was major that to me is that they thought it was an all-white city. We had, when I came 26 years ago, it was 5% African American. Now it's a total of about 20% now. But we have a diverse group of people. It's becoming more of like 30% of people of all colors. The other thing is that we're working on things that had been a problem and still can be a problem, is the policing, is the car chasing into the city of Detroit. And I get all those calls. And so because I get all those calls, I make sure that I'm more involved with the police department and making sure I'm finding out what they're doing to make it better moving forward. And I can tell you Commissioner Hawkins is really working hard on trying to improve the process. We just had a situation with the flock cameras in which I had to rescind my vote on that after finding out more about it. But also the chasing, they're coming up with devices where they wouldn't have to chase. Because what you have to understand, when other cities within Macomb chase the person out, they chase them towards 8 Mile. Mm-hmm. And so the city of Warren has to take over that. And as a whole, most people want the chasing to stop. So they have to come up with ways on how we can improve that. When I first moved to the city of Warren, my father said, I'm not coming in there. And there are people today, whether they be Jewish or Palestinian or Chaldean, that refuse to ride through the city of Warren. And I can tell you that we really have improved. We're trying to make more of a connection. We're going outside of the city and making sure that we communicate more with the city of Detroit. I'm a Detroiter all the way. And so I want to make sure that and I'm trying my best to make sure that we communicate and make sure that we make that connection.
Okay, Joe, do you have a question?
It's funny that she says she's a Detroiter all the way. 26 years ago, she left Detroit, moved to Warren. I feel the same way about Washington, D.C. I'm a Washingtonian through and through. Doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing, I'm Washingtonian first. And to your point about Chief Eric Hawkins, first of all, he came indirectly by way of Southfield. He was our police chief for so many years and did some great things, and he went to New York. But it's a funny thing, he called me one night real late. If you notice, I always say somebody calls me. He called me and says, you got to get this Chief Barron from Detroit over in Southfield. Elvin Barron. Best thing we ever did. I believe that whatever you have to do in Warren, it's going to be okay because he's there. But the other thing I'm surprised, I was sitting there counting on my fingers. I said, 1928, 2028 will be 100 years,
Yes.
and you just got the first black person, you know, on the city council and vice president. I'm just tired of that. In this time, all of the stuff that we fought, you know, I fought so many years for us to have the rights to do anything because I was in the military, and we're still having first in 2028. Not that it's not a good thing, but it's taken us too long. It's like everybody wants to throw an impediment in the way or a roadblock. What are some of the roadblocks that you see going forward and that you've had to overcome in order to get to where you are?
I did have some roadblocks. I think that one of the roadblocks were that, you know, with our old mayor, he just did not want me to know about some of the lawsuits and things like that that was coming through when it involved race. So, you know, people held back because of that, because I was going to find out the truth. And once I found out the truth, at first it made me angry about some things, but at the same time, I wanted to hurry up and make some changes regarding that. There were some roadblocks because people just, like I said, when you have the oldest living generation that live in the city of Warren, you're going to have, you know, while you campaigning, some doors shut in your face. You're going to have people who say, I just don't want to change. Change is like you it's a curse word. You know what I'm saying? Because they just don't want that. They want to stick with the traditions. And there's some things that's very traditional in Warren that I like. They want that peace, but most neighborhoods and most cities want that. But we have to move forward with technology. We have to move forward with new innovation. And we got to attract the right people into the city in order to buy our homes, workforce development, to bring better homes for them. And we want what every other city has. We really do. We want that. And so those roadblocks was just a mindset. You got to change the mind of the people to say, I can see how this can work. Because people want to feel secure more than anything else. They want to feel that they're secure in their city. And so those were some things that really blocked me from moving forward. But you got to understand, to me, the pressure today is I get those calls. Yes. I get all the calls. You gotta understand. I get calls from Detroit police. I get calls from Detroit organizations. I get calls from other cities if it involves a racial issue. If it, you know, anything, if it involves any of that, they call me. Even if it's a small business within the city of Warren, they don't feel that they're fairly being treated right. They're going to give me that call, and I have to go and make sure it happens for them and change things around.
Let me say this to you. You know how all of us want to be in these positions? Like all I wanted to do is be a chair of a Democratic organization, and I'm chair of two organizations, the Black Caucus, Oakland County, and the Southfield Lake, the really Democratic Club. And the same as Darwin Griffin, who's our second vice chair. Second vice chair of the Michigan Democrat. And you as well on our executive boards and different things. You know how you say be careful what you wish for? You remember when you were out there as an activist and we were out there on the outside raising hell? Now you're there and you get the calls, and it seems to be even more crazier now than it was when you know, some things that we were told, no, that can't be true. Now that we're in these positions, and you particular in that position, you're seeing things and you're like, wow, it's even either worse, it's not as bad as they say it was, or it's even worse than what they were saying.
It's shocking sometimes because, like you said, this is 2026. This can't be still going on, but it is. It's still out there, it's still happening, and we still need to make sure that we do something about it. I heard this one time at an ACLU meeting, they said, you know, civil rights was started by us, you know, but we went on to try to make sure that we help other organizations, whether it be LGBTQ or anything else, you know, Asian hate, but it was started by us, but it's still haven't ended. It's still going on today. We still have to fight for justice today. And I think, you know, part of me being there and making a difference is that we need to be going into every city. Every city. There's still some cities that, till today, can be just as old as Warren, has never had a person of color of any kind. Some never had even a woman. You know what I'm saying? I just got back from a family reunion in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I met a white woman who was the first city council there. And she said, and that was just not too long ago.
Wow.
You know, not too long ago. She said, Melody, I'm in with you. She said, and I know that it could be difficult for you. So she said, it's a challenge, but we must make that change.
Yes.
We must. And I'm going to tell you something. The Black Caucus taught me a lot, okay? They taught me, you know, the Black Caucus in Macomb, when I met Jackie and Helen, as you know, they taught me everything that I needed to know. They wanted me to crawl before I walked. They said, Melody, in order for you to go into leadership, you got to know how to dress. You got to know how to talk. You got to know who to be around and who not to be around. Because you're making that change for everyone to see. And when I walked in that room, they said, they knew right away. They said, we got you. You're going to be the first. And we got to prepare you right now. So there's a strong appreciation for that.
And seeing you, I remember when I first saw you, I says, she represents well, because as she said, how to dress, how to speak, who to be around and who not to be around. Some of your friends that you used to hang out with, they don't do certain things. You got to move forward. And folks, don't take it personal.
Really don't.
She's grown. She represents not just you anymore. She represents everybody.
Everyone.
Democrat, Republican, old, young, old, everybody in between. And I just thank you for stepping up. See, that's the thing people don't realize. To be a politician or to run for office, some of the things that I've heard people say about you, I know they weren't true, but a lot of the other people didn't know that these things weren't true. You have to go through so much to get to where you are. And I'm just proud of you being the first, but let's don't stop there. I want to hear future plans. I know you have plans for the city, but what about yourself politically?
I believe that my goal, I'm coming up for my second term. My goal is to really, you know, become that mentor. That is really my goal. I'm going through some training now, political training. My goal is to help people of color, our African Americans, really get into office and take the steps that they may not want to take the steps. Me and Darwin talked about that, how, you know, they want to jump from the bed to the Senate, you know what I'm saying? And I want to help them in any way to try to make sure that, you know, they be successful in office, and that's a goal of mine. I don't know where I'll go from city council, but I know that I want to be the best of the best. I want to work hard. I want to do what I can to help my community, and I think my focus is more on economic development, understanding their economic condition, and I want to see more of our political leadership work towards that. Even though a city is a business and it should be ran as a business, you can't have a business if you don't work on the people economic condition. And so that's my goal moving forward. I want to be able to really say when I leave this office that I am increase the number when it comes to, you know, getting them employed, increase the number of getting them into low-cost housing. I want to say that I change families around, you know, and be very proud of that in order for us to help the city.
You know, I want to introduce you to a lady over in Oakland County who ran. She's a contractor. But when I was out there, came a Shadia Martini who lost to Jason Hawkins, but she's a contractor. Owns her own construction company. While we were out there canvassing, one of the things that she says, you know, she was telling me, she says, Joe, you know, I can build houses and buy the land and build a house for with either 2 or 3 bedroom houses with 2 or 3 bathrooms. I can build them for $200,000. Stop and think about that. If you can get a $200,000 home for $200,000, as opposed to the average house is called in Southfield $300,000 and up, $400,000 depending
And
on.
don't even talk about the taxes,
right,
and insurance.
Going forward, I just think that we need to partner up some of the folks that we're meeting out there, that we're learning some things, so that you could talk about the housing for us. There's so much that we're still fighting for today. And I'm listening to you say this. I heard Tyrone say this. Darwin and I have talked about this. The chair of the Michigan Democratic Party, Keith Williams, is always talking about the wealth gap. Well, until you go in and actually look at the wealth gap in these cities, it's like, wow. And we don't want you to be just a figurehead. We want you to be successful and do some things like you're doing, because now you're inside. In order to make changes, you got to come inside. You can't stand outside and throw rocks.
That is the truth.
You got to become a part of the system in order to make the system work, and you have done that.
I one of the things that they said, President Obama said, everybody should run for office, because then you'll know, and what you know is what you know. Once you're on the inside, you find out a whole lot of things that you did not know. But you'll be able to go, when you step out of that arena, you'll be able to help others to get inside. And maybe they will make changes that maybe you could not make. And so that to me is important. Long as we can make this city successful, this state successful, our county successful, and put the right people in place, that's what matters to me most, And people, our African American people, our people of color, we're brilliant people, and we can make those changes, but we got to start by mentoring. We got to train them. We got to develop them. And I know I'm an HR major person, but it starts somewhere. We are really losing numbers when it comes to our young people, and to me that is so highly important. That they said people were firing young people between the ages of 18 and 30 because they're not problem solvers. They're not coming to work. They have this sense of entitlement. Training and development never stops. You gotta continue. And when they decide to wake up and say, I feel like I'm a leader and I'm gonna be a senator and I'm gonna be, okay, let's see where you can start. Are you working in your community? Are you doing something with our young people? Have you done your research? Have you studied? These type of people need to be out here and making sure we develop our young people to be the best leaders, be our future president, our senators. We want the best of the best, and I believe we can have the best of the best in the state of Michigan. I really do believe that, and I think we're going to get there.
Well, Joe, I want you to give that. You gave me that, what Damon Keith said. I want you to say it on the air before we get ready to take a break.
Oh, I met Judge Damon Keith many, many years ago, and he had wrote this poem, and it was an awesome poem. And to this day, I don't even remember the poem. I just remember one thing that he said in that poem. He said, the least of us are nothing until all of us are something.
Yeah,
I live by that creed. I don't remember the name of it. I couldn't tell you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make it a point that by the next time I come on your show, Darwin, I'm going to make it a point to look up the speeches, all of his speeches and his poems or whatever, and I'm going to find it, that poem that he wrote. But he said, the least of us are nothing until all of us are something. And that's the way that we have to look at this. And here's one other thing I want to say. I may not, let's say you and I don't get along, period. I don't like you, you don't like me. But I vote for her. I go and knock doors for her. I help her get elected. I don't have to like you, love you, fall in love, and all of this in order to support you. I support you because you're doing the work. You have done the work. Watching it, I mean, I remember going to one of the city council meetings. This was several years ago. And I said, whoever this little lady is, I said, she's a pistol. She ain't playing. And Falk, I think that was his name, Falk was the mayor. Oh my God, I looked at him and I said, wow.
And he was an interesting mayor, but we got to take a break, and we will be right back. So you are watching a very special edition of Truth to Power with Vice President of City Council in Warren, Melody McGee. Joe Person will be right back.
We are now streaming on Alexa. That's right, we're streaming our TV audio worldwide on Alexa. To get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
now Alexa will allow you to listen to your favorite TV programs. Remember, to get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
We're streaming our TV audio worldwide.
If you enjoyed the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
You are watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are joined by none other than the representative in the House that represents Highland Park, Detroit, and Hamtramck. Is that correct? And she is no stranger to Truth to Power, and she is none other than State Representative Tanya Myers Phillips. State Rep Phillips, thank you for joining myself and Vice President, City Council in Warren, Ms. Melody McGee. But thank you for coming on special edition of Truth to Power with us today, State Rep.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
You just won in the primary. Now you still have to go on to the general election, correct?
Yes, correct.
Talk about, I had the State Rep, your colleague, Tyrone Carter here, and he was talking about what happens in the primary, and then now you go on to the general election.
Yeah.
What happens now for Tanya Myers Phillips now that she has gotten through the primary, and now she goes on to the general election? What's the process in between then and up to November the 3rd?
Okay. Well, it's an exciting time, and I definitely want to say thank you to the voters who put their trust in me to come back again for a second term. We're on moving in that direction, so I want to thank the voters of Highland Park and Detroit and Hamtramck for trusting me with this big responsibility, and I'm embracing it. I'm excited about it. So, of course, there's still the general election, so their campaigning still continues, But I just look at campaigning in a sense of, we're doing our job. We're doing our job, which is to talk and engage voters. So I continue doing that throughout the three cities I'm honored to represent. But in addition to that, we have a lot of important races on the ballot. In addition to state representative, we are voting for our U.S. senators, our U.S. congressional representatives, our governor, the attorney general, the secretary of state. So there are a lot of big positions on the ballot that will impact our lives. So I'm also taking additional time to go around the state and help other Democrats that are going to help our communities, put our communities first, to make sure that they are able to win, because we need a team. You know, we can do a bit by ourselves, but we really go far when we have the right team. So I'm campaigning in District 7, but I'm also looking to elect the right team up and down the ballot. So I'm spending some time helping other great candidates as well.
And you make a good segue, Tanya, in terms of, say, to you and both to Melody, is that we know this is a team effort. We know that we've got a lot of work that we still have to do between now and November the 3rd.
Yeah.
And just as you were just saying, we've got from the governor's race to the Senate race to the Secretary of State, the AG, we've got Supreme Court justices, and we've got yourself, and we've got others that are running for state Senate, state reps, and other positions. And in some cases, even here, as you know, Tanya, there is a mayoral race here in the city of Highland Park that's coming up between Mama Shu and Glenda McDonald, the incumbent. So, and then there's city council races, as well. But, the thing is that we have to, we got to stand united in what we do, as well as other people have to stand united in what they do. So I'm not going to mention their names in terms of, say, different parties or whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is that this has been a real interesting time in the electoral process. And this is the midterm election, as you both know. But this is leading into the presidential election in another couple of years.
That's right.
And Melody, that's when you have to run for re-election. Is that correct?
In 27. Yes.
In 27. So next year, you got to run again. But the question that I want to ask you both is that there are now Democratic Socialists. There are progressives. What are some of the things that you, and I'm going to ask you both to answer this question, what are some of the things that you both see that the Democratic Party needs to do? Because the Republican Party, people are looking at them as thinking that they're consolidated. But what are the things that you're seeing that the Democratic Party needs to do to be united and be solid to go into this election coming up in November?
Well, one of the things that I always say to a new candidate is, what is it that the people want? And they'll look at me and they would talk to me about the latest and the greatest thing that's happening in the city or in the state or in the United States as a whole. But I still come back with the same question. What is it that the people want? And the only way that you can find out what the people want is when you knock those doors, when you put on community, events, making sure you talk to your constituents. And I want the Democratic Party to just listen to the people and what their needs are. I know that the number one thing that people want, they want you to work on their economic condition, because I get those calls. I get those emails saying I cannot afford to do the repairs on my home. I cannot afford my house note or my taxes. I need food in my household. You'll be surprised how big that is right now, because a lot of people are very prideful, and they don't want to tell everyone that, I cannot afford to pay my house note, my insurance, and get food. How can I get some? And so I think as a party, we have to listen to that. We have to say, okay, we may be talking about something else over here, but the bottom line is they have to come home to their families, and they have to provide for their families. So I would say we need to listen and act on their economic condition.
Okay. Tanya?
Well, I'm completely agree with what you're saying. You hit the nail, right on the head. We have to focus on pocketbook issues first.
You say pocketbook issues?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Pocketbook, kitchen table, the bottom line, right? For people to be able to increase their social and economic mobility. So that's number one. Additional strategies, I guess, to get there and to keep people engaged with the party. We have to do those doors. It has to be personal. I mean, there's a lot of money in politics right now. People are raising insane amounts of money. I believe they're saying this U.S. Senate race is going to be one of the most expensive, that we've seen in a long time. So of course you have to do that, but it's not a substitute for engagement and getting out and interacting face to face, particularly in communities. You don't want to take anybody for granted. We have to do that engagement in purple areas, in deep blue areas, in red areas. We have to touch everybody as a party, okay? So don't count anybody out. Don't take anybody for granted. Don't give anybody a break. We go everywhere. And I'm glad, at least with the House Democrats, we have candidates in, I believe, all but one district in Michigan. So we have to aggressively put our Democratic platform out to everybody. And I think we can do more in engaging younger voters. I'm impressed with what has been happening, but there's still a lot more room, and we're seeing I think we're seeing different things in movement spaces right now. People they want something, they want people to listen. They want something different in terms of strategy. And as public servants, we're supposed to represent what the people want. Give the people what they're asking for, not continue to sort of push the same thing. It's not our job to tell people what to accept, but to deliver on what people need and want. And more young people are getting engaged. It just might not be the same way that people did it 20 or 30 years ago. So the party is making adjustments, but there's still some more movement to really engage and empower a younger voting bloc as well.
Now, you represent what committees in Lansing?
Right now, I am on the Energy Committee and the Natural Resources and Tourism Committee.
Now, when you say energy, what does that entail?
Well, it could entail a lot of things, but under Republican leadership, I don't think we've really reached the full potential of what should be done and what voters are asking us to do. But essentially, the Energy Committee can propose laws and bills that regulate utility companies, that bring our cost of energy down, that look at investing in things long term. Like a great piece of legislation that passed last session before I took office was the Clean Energy Act to kind of move Michigan away from fossil fuels and look at different renewable energy sources over a period of time so that we can start to bring our energy bills down. So there's a lot of opportunity to do good and to bring some of those pocketbook solutions forward. And we see people talking about it. We hear, if you're listening, that's one of the number one things people are saying in the district and across Michigan, that my energy bill, my DTE, my consumers is too high. I can't afford it. And there's a wonderful opportunity for the legislature, starting in the Energy Committee, to put forth solutions that address those issues. So some of us have put forward solutions. They haven't been getting the hearings or attention they need, because of our Republican leadership kind of slow walking things. But I see opportunity, in these elections to get the right people in place where we can turn that around, And I'll just plug one of my bills, the Shut-Off Protection Bill, protecting kids and seniors from the Code Act, and just remembering, I always try and be mindful of the least of these, to make sure that we're taking care of our elders, our youth, and those that are most vulnerable. And my bill would codify senior shut-off protection and also extend that relief to families with children under the age of 16 as well, because our winters are brutal. They can be
Yes.
brutal. And
What is
some-
that House Bill? What?
5741.
I want you
Yes.
to give you a shout out on
Thank
it. So
you. Thank
say
you.
it again.
Appreciate it. 5741.
House Bill
Yes.
5741.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Double
And
check
that
my
energy
bill.
does that
Thank
have
you.
an effect on the climate control also? It does it connect with the climate control? What's happening now with weather? How can it, make the bill go even higher because of climate control?
Yeah. So it provides some relief,
Okay.
from the impact. Climate change is real. I know, many in Lansing don't want to acknowledge it, and they talk about the green new scam and everything. But just living and keeping your eyes open, we see the wild swings in weather. We're having historic highs in temperature and historic lows in freezing temperature, where the air quality has been all over the place. So we see it. Anybody who has eyes can acknowledge that there's a change. And with these extreme changes, and coupled with the rise in costs for energy, a lot of people are not able to keep their services on, not because they're lazy, not because they're not working hard, but because we haven't built in enough protections in our system to have fair pricing so everybody can be able to afford these utilities. So yeah, that's
Thank you for saying that.
Oh, no problem. So I'm looking forward to going back to session and continuing to advocate for that.
So now you're if you are elected in November, then your term then starts when?
January.
Starts in
1st.
January.
Yes.
And so you have to be sworn in again.
Yes.
And this will be your second 2-year term.
Yes.
So what are your plans? I mean, I'm gonna try and jump ahead of the gun, and then I'll let Melody, if you have another question you want to ask her. But what are your plans? I mean, Tyrone Carter mentioned this is his 5th term that he's been up there at the House.
Yes.
So he may go for a 6th term, and what are your plans?
Well, my plan is my plans are always to do what we need to improve the quality of life in our community. So I want to get legislation passed that benefits our community. We need this Michigan Voting Rights Act passed. Another bill package that I'm on is the Michigan tuition Make It in Michigan tuition reimbursement, because we talk about cost rising, the cost of higher education. If you want to improve your standing and have a degree, those days of working yourself through college, that's over. That's basically impossible. So we need to continue to make a path for our community members to go to college or to go to trade school and not come out with astronomical debt or to just for it to be cost prohibitive to even get a loan in the first place. So we need to do that. We have a revenue issue that needs to be addressed in an honest way. So everybody needs to pay their fair share. Some of these corporations aren't doing that. So we need to address that too, so we can fund the social services that our communities need, like health care, additional child care assistance, home health care aides, public school education. We need additional revenue, water affordability to fund those things that our communities need and deserve. Again, the energy assistance programs, that utility reform, that's hot. Our communities are expecting us to go in and, again, have everybody operate on a more fair playing field that results in us having lower energy bills. So those are some of the things. And housing, we can't forget affordable housing. So we've done some things to move the needle this session. We've loosened up some regulatory frameworks to make it easier to build, but I believe we need to couple that with investment and put more money in the pot to be able to subsidize the cost of low income to moderate income housing. So it's a
Yes.
money issue as well as a
Yes.
regulatory
Yes.
issue.
So
we
been
have to
quite
come back
busy.
to that.
You've
Yeah.
been quite busy in these first 2 years then. So
little
you're
bit.
probably looking forward to these next 2 years.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I know
Glad
you,
you did.
and when you said something, I looked at Melody because I know that's
Mm-hmm.
one of her pet projects, and especially when you talk about helping when it comes to skilled trades
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
workforce
that's a good
development, because that's what Melody, when I first met Melody, that's what Melody was involved in.
Been doing it for like
doing
10
that.
years,
Right,
yeah.
for a long time to come. But I was going to say, if you wanted to ask her a question when it comes down to skilled trades, because that's something that there's a lot of people, and Melanie, you know, kids get out of school. Some kids do not want to go to college. Some kids don't have the aspiration to want to go through a 4 or a 6 or even a 10-year process to get a degree. And they may want to go into skilled trades.
Yeah.
And that's something that you find that a lot of people do not realize.
Yeah.
There's a lot of aspirations to go on to college, but skilled trades is also something.
It's a lifelong career.
It is.
It really is a lifelong career. You know, when I went into school, I used to go to like 125 locations a year within the state of Michigan and really talk to our young people as well as our adults about skilled trades. And then today, statistics have shown that AI has, you know, and may take away quite a bit of people's jobs. But they said one thing is going to stand, that there's always going to be a need for skilled trades. And so me, even with my niece that's currently in college at Eastern Michigan, I told her, I said, you should go into a skilled trades, be an electrician, and you still get your college paid for. This is, you know, these skilled trades programs that are unionized, they pay for everything.
They do.
They pay for everything, so you wouldn't have to worry about it. And you're getting paid while you're going through the program. So you got students that are getting paid $50,000, $60,000 a year or more while they're being trained to have a lifelong career. And some of them are making six-figure incomes. And so if you want something better, I even say this to the parents because you have to talk to the parents first. If you want a lifelong career for your child and you eventually want them out of your home, get them into a skilled trade and start them training now. Now, you know, most of the skilled trades back in the day, years ago, it was through family. You taught them through family. Your father was a skilled tradesman. Your grandfather was a skilled tradesman. Get them started now into a program. You know, they can still go to college. They can still finish college. They can still get a master's degree, but they can have that skilled trades license, and they're going to always have a job. They're going to always have a career.
Well, you know, I want to ask you before we close this segment is that John James, the Republican candidate for governor, has made his pick as far as who he wants to be his lieutenant governor, should he be successful. And is there anything, I know he's in the House with you, is there anything that you can tell our viewers about, his name is Jay DeBoyer, can tell our viewers about Jay DeBoyer? Have you worked with him? Have you worked with him in the past, or do you work with him in any of your committees that you sit on? Or anything? Is there any interaction that you have with him?
You know, everybody has to work together to some degree, you know, but we have not kind of worked together on any bipartisan legislation. That has been an area that we, you know, the legislature mainly, it's mainly a Republican issue. We just have not had as much bipartisan cooperation as previous legislatures have in the past.
Okay.
And this session has passed the least amount of bills since, like, I think they were saying since the World War II or something ridiculous. But we've gotten some things passed, but not as much as you traditionally expect. So no, I have not worked with him closely on any legislation or any projects, you know, but to me, he hasn't distinguished himself from the majority of his Republican colleagues. There might be a handful, in my humble opinion, that have come across the aisle and really made an effort to work with Democrats for the good of the state, but he's not one of them. So I don't have a positive thing to say about his candidacy. I'm trying to think of one, but to be honest, I don't have one. Right now, I've gone through a year and a half of House leadership under Republican control, and it's been week after week of what hate bill are we arguing about today? Right. What stomp on the poor conversation are we having today? What kind of othering and trying to separate people based on race and class are we fighting about today? Why are we talking about reducing food assistance to our most needy? Why are we discussing cutting aid to children? Why are we even talking about this? So some of the things that we've had to do, we've been successful as Democrats, and I'm proud of my record as a legislator in fighting to get resources to our community and to get good laws passed. But we've had to fight so much harder than we should have had to, and we've wasted time on, frankly, hateful, silly things, that are beneath the privilege of the office. So I can't offer any more than that.
Okay, well, let's hope that these next 2 years go by a lot better than maybe the previous 2 years. But I want to ask you both, we got to wrap up, but is there anything, Melody, that you'd like to report that you're doing or that's going on in your community that you'd like to report out?
Well, we have a few things going on. As I said before, we're working, our police department in Warren is working on improvements and making sure that we do all we can to make sure our city feels secure. But myself, I'm working on small business development. I think that is very important that we bring businesses together in order to improve and help our city become more economically stable.
Okay.
We're known as being the automotive industry city. We have General Motors there. We have TACOM there for government, and we're trying to improve and make things and get them more involved in what's happening in the city. Bringing more funding into the city is highly important. At one time, the city of Warren was kind of shut out of additional funding, and now we're working on trying to bring additional funding into the city. And then workforce development, of course, my baby, that's what I love, making sure that I think when a city train and develop and make the best employees, as well as make our employers better, we can handle what's economically going on in the city. And so those are just things that I feel that we're getting better at.
Okay. Well, we got to get ready to wrap. This has been a plum pleasing pleasure to have both of you on the show today. We hope that you will come back again.
Absolutely.
Vice President, City Council, Warren,
Wonderful.
Melody McGee.
Had a great time.
Tanya, you know that we always have an open invitation to you to come back to WHPR TV. And we welcome. And anytime that either of you have anything that you'd like to report out, please feel free. We're a friend of you. We want you to be a friend of us.
Of course.
As well.
Thank you.
So again, we have been joined by State Representative Tanya Myers Phillips, Vice President, City Council, Warren, Melody McGee. We've had Tyrone Carter, State Rep. We've had Kimberly Fisher, businesswoman, and we'll see in terms of how things go in the election come November. Joined by Joe Person. Want to thank Ebony Elmore, who is the person that everybody needs to see when it talks about River Rouge. And she is a candidate also for City Council in the great city of River Rouge. Again, I'm Darwin Griffin. I've been your host today. Stay tuned for the upcoming show, Gospel Explosion, with James Torrance. See you next time.